Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our 2013 NFL team preview. We're taking a look at the Washington Redskins. We're going to break down their offense, their defense, as well as their special teams to see what we can expect from the Redskins this upcoming season.
Redskins finally found their quarterback of the future, their franchise signal caller in RG3 last season, who lit the league on fire, not with just his explosive plays from the running game, but the fact that he was a deadly accurate passer last year, throwing for over 3,200 yards, 20 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. He protected the football in the passing game. All he has to do this year is stay healthy, not take as many risks with his body running the football, learn how to slide, learn how to get out of bounds. But it was that element of his game that made this Redskins offense go from 0 to 60 instantly. And you look at what he can do this year, improvement in the passing game with better weapons around him, more consistent weapons. I think he can put up even bigger and better numbers this year for the Redskins. Now behind him, another rookie did a fine job last year in spot duty, and that's Kirk Cousins. So if RG3 does happen to start the season slow as far as coming back from an injury, or if he has to miss a game or two, they're fine with Kirk Cousins back there at the helm. RG3 wasn't the only rookie that set the league on fire last season for the Redskins. You look at Alfred Morris, the outstanding tailback, rushed for over 1,600 yards last season, setting a Redskins rookie rushing record, and was one of the best running backs in the league. Now this year, I want to see him get more involved in the passing game. That's going to make his game that much more well-rounded. Behind him, I think they have some solid depth with guys like Roy Helu and Evan Royce, who both excel in that zone blocking scheme. They get downhill pretty quick, but they don't have the explosiveness as of the guys that they drafted in the draft this year. Chris Thompson out of Florida State, who's coming off an ACL injury, but if he's healthy, he definitely has that breakaway speed. And Jawan Jameson is a shorter, compact guy, not as fast as Chris Thompson, but definitely is more shifty than all of the backs, so he can definitely make you miss. So I like what they've added, trying to add more explosiveness to the backfield. The Redskins wide receivers were serviceable last year, although Pierre Garçon did step up and become the #1 option for RG3. A lot of people question whether or not he can do that, or was he a product of the system out there in Indianapolis. He proved everybody wrong. They need Josh Morgan to step up, although he was the leading receiver on the team last season. He has to step up his play and be consistent, as well as Leonard Hankerson has to step up and be consistent as well. They still have Santana Moss. They bring in 2 other vets like Devery Henderson and Dante Stallworth. In my opinion, one of those guys will not make the roster, but I think Devery Henderson has a great chance to make this ball club. Why? Because he's younger and he's a lot faster and more explosive than Dante Stallworth is at this point in his career. And when you run the offense that the Redskins run, you need a wide receiver that's a deep threat that can eat up that cushion, because it will then force the defense to play you a certain way, and thus opening up the running game even more. So that's why I think Henderson will be a valuable asset to this team. And I think they're fine at the tight end position. Fred Davis was having a pretty good season last year before the injury, tested the free agency waters in the offseason, came back, and now he can continue to grow with RG3 in his offense. In his absence, though, you have to like what you saw out of Niles Paul and Logan Paulson. Both guys stepped up and did well. But keep an eye on rookie Jordan Reed out of Florida. This is an H-back guy. You can move him all around the formation. I think the Redskins are going to get creative with him because of his abilities to make plays after the catch, and could have a huge contribution to the offense this season. The Redskins offensive line did a great job last year, paving the way for the #1 rushing offense in the National Football League, and also did a pretty good job of protecting RG3. It's tough to protect a guy that's a mobile quarterback because you don't know where he is behind you, and he's going to run himself into a lot of sacks. But as far as straight pass protection is concerned, the Redskins did a fine job. They're led by left tackle Trent Williams, who played so well last season. He made his first Pro Bowl appearance for the Redskins, did a great job in the running game as well. Tyler Columbus is another guy on the right side, did a fine job in the running game. But when you look at this Redskins offense, easy to see why they were successful running the football. Their guard-to-guard play was outstanding. Will Montgomery is a very good center. Chris Chester at the guard position did a great job as well. The reason why I like their interior offensive line, the communication. Guys climbing to the second level, they did a fine job with that. And that's what you need from your interior offensive line to make the running game work. And they did a great job building depth, drafting guys like Adam Geddes, Tom Compton, Josh Laribas. Those guys provide quality depth, along with the 8-year vet Jeremy Trueblood out of Boston College. So when you look at this Redskins front 5, you see a lot of talent, but you also see promise and depth behind them. Redskins sorely missed the services of Adam Carricker along their defensive line last year, who was coming off a pretty good 2011 season, but it was a blessing in disguise because they were able to get Jarvis Jenkins on the football field. He was their 2011 second-round pick who missed all of 2011 with an injury, and last year he played exceptionally well. So now they have their two starting five techniques, in my opinion, in Carricker and Jenkins, with a guy that's a good rotational depth player in Stephen Bowen. So now they can get pressure on the quarterback consistently, and both guys do a great job versus the run. At defensive tackle, they got a huge asset last year picking up Barry Cofield from the New York Giants. He did a great job at the nose tackle position, anchoring down, commanding that double team to keep those linebackers back there clean so that way they can make plays on the ball and make plays in the backfield. Now, behind Cofield, they're expecting big things from Chris Neal, who I think has some pass rushing ability from the interior, and Chris Baker is a very good backup that played well last year. He's a good swing guy that you can have as your backup to come in and provide some quality reps. In my opinion, the Redskins have the best linebacking core in the NFC East. They're getting back Brian Orakpo from injury, who's a tenacious pass rusher, teaming him up, joining forces once again with Ryan Kerrigan, who, for a guy that played defensive end in college, does a great job on his feet and in space. He's always making plays at or near the line of scrimmage and making plays in the passing game. Together, these guys are some of the best outside rushers in the league. And when you look at the depth behind them, Rob Jackson did a great job stepping up and playing well in Orakpo's absence, but he's going to be suspended for the first 4 games of the season. That's why you want to keep an eye on rookie Brandon Jenkins out of Florida State. If he would have came out in the 2011 draft, he would have been a surefire first-round pick. Stayed in school, got injured, but when you look at his skill set, he has a great ball get-up. He has great closing speed to the quarterback. So the Redskins will bring him along slowly, but I think he does have potential as a pass rusher in this defense this season. Now on the interior, you have the Rodney Dangerfield of linebackers in the NFL and London Fletcher, a guy that's career is similar to Ray Lewis but doesn't get the respect. He's a true leader of this defense, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down either. Next to him is Perry Riley, a guy that does a great job in coverage and also is an effective run defender, as well as Keenan Robinson, who also does a solid job at that inside linebacker position. So once again, just echoing my point, this is the best linebacking core in the NFC East. The Redskins were near the bottom in pass defense last year, so it was amazing that they were able to make the playoffs in spite of that. So they had to get better in the offseason at the cornerback position, at the safety position, and yes, they dealt with injuries, but when you look at some of the veterans they have on the roster, guys like D'Angelo Hall, Josh Wilson, solid guys, but they're inconsistent. That's why they bring in E.J. Biggers from Tampa Bay, a speedy guy. They're expecting him to push Josh Wilson for that starting position. And I would also keep an eye on Chase Minifield, who was an undrafted free agent last year, got released, put on IR, but he was one of the premier cornerbacks in the country before the injury. Got injured late. That's why he didn't get drafted. I think they have a gem and a player in Minifield whose dad played in the National Football League for a very long time. When you look at the draft, they took David Amerson, a guy that had 13 intercepts a year ago, so he definitely has the ball skills. And when you have a front seven that can get pressure on a quarterback, you want guys on the back end that can make plays on the ball and catch those interceptions. And a guy like Amerson can catch the football just as good as some wide receivers in the league, and he has the ability to take it back to the house. When you look at the safety position, that was the biggest problem for the Redskins last year. They couldn't eliminate mistakes deep down the field, and teams were getting big plays in the passing game. And I know they're getting back Brandon Merriweather, who got hurt in the first game of the season, caught an interception, but I think he blows way too many assignments, so you can't really trust him back there at the safety position. That's why in the draft you go get one of the better safeties in the country that led the nation in picks, and Phillip Thomas, as well as Bakari Rambo, a strong safety that hits like a linebacker but can cover like a free safety. So now you can go to that big nickel look. You can get creative in your secondary packages. You can utilize all of these guys on the football field at the same time. So in my opinion, you look at the Redskins secondary last year, it's going to look completely different this season, and I think they significantly upgraded that position with talent, athleticism, and sheer playmaking ability. The Redskins are sound in the kicking department. Look at Kai Forbath, had an outstanding season last year, hitting on 94% of his kicks, very accurate, even hit one from 50 yards. Sav Rocca is one of the better punters in the league, struggled through injuries last season, so he's back at 100%. We'll see how much power he still has left in that 40-year-old leg. I think it's a slight question mark in the return game for the Washington Redskins. I know Niles Paul is a serviceable kickoff returner, but they need more explosiveness out that position. So you may see one of the rookie running backs like Chris Thompson or Jawan Jameson take that spot from Niles Paul and give them a little bit more of a spark back there as a returner. And I think Richard Crawford will get first crack at the punt return duties. He does have that speed and elusiveness that you want back there returning punts. Now let's take a look at what the Redskins have on the roster. A great group of linebackers. You won't find any 4 linebackers that are starting that are better than this group that they have right now. They have a game breaker at quarterback, and that's always an X factor when you have a guy that's that much of a threat as your signal caller. You're going to win a lot of games, and they have a very good offensive scheme. Now what they lack, they don't have a true stud at wide receiver, and they don't have a game breaker at running back. I know they have Alfred Morris, but they don't have that guy that threatens the defense, that could take it the distance, and they don't have a dangerous kickoff or punt return. They have serviceable guys, but not one that could really flip field position. Reasons for optimism for the Redskins. You could see what happened last year with a rookie quarterback, banged up defense. They still made it to the playoffs, and now they get better, they get healthier, they've added talent. So there's a lot of reason for optimism if you're a Redskins fan. Cause for concern, those new added pieces in the secondary, if they don't come through and step up right away, if they start the season slow, and we know how tough the NFC East can be as a division, it could derail any hopes the Redskins have of 1, winning the division, and 2, getting back to the playoffs. The road to the Super Bowl for the Redskins goes as follows. Number 1, RG3 has to stay healthy for the full 16-game season and throughout the course of the playoffs in order for these guys to get where they want to be. 2, the rookies they drafted this year have to step in from day 1 and contribute right away. They got to be ready to play. And finally, the receivers have to step up and be a little bit more consistent, more so than they were last season, to help open up this passing attack. If all 3 things happen, the Redskins can find themselves in East Rutherford in February. I have the Redskins finishing first in the NFC East this season. When you look at what this team did well last year, they ran the football with the best of them. They also operated off play action and threw the football efficiently. They protected RG3. Defensively, they were able to get pressure on the quarterback despite missing some key parts to that front 7, despite having one of the worst secondaries in the league or pass defenses, and they still were able to make the playoffs. Now they've corrected those issues. They've gotten healthier in the front 7. They've drafted guys. They've added free agents. So I look for the Redskins to put it all together once again, win a division, and get into the playoffs. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Redskin fan forums for always showing football game plan support.